What seems to be death-defying stunts performed in the movies. Have you ever wondered if they're real and who actually does them? My next guest is a veteran of the stunt trade. She's Cheryl Wheeler Duncan. Looks great for any age, but get this, she's 50. You're 50, and you look like you could be 20, so congratulations for that.
A long lens, a long lens.
Well, I just love some of the stories that you've been telling me before we got here this morning. Let's talk about how you got started. I mean, that is a big job to do stunts in Hollywood.
It is. It has been a lot of fun. I got started through martial arts. I was a world kickboxing champion way back when, and won a world title in it. Ended up moving out to Los Angeles and getting into the business that way.
And were you ever concerned when you first thought about doing this if perhaps, you know, I could be really injured if I do this, or were you so fired up about it that wasn't really a big concern?
You know, Melissa, when you're young, when you're in your 20s, you think you're bionic, first of all. We all have that feeling. But, you know, I know there's an element of danger to it, but there's also a science to it, and you're very careful about what you pick and choose, what jobs you do, you know.
But then you did have a very serious accident. What is it, 1989?
Long time ago, Back to the Future Part 2, and I was doing we were on hoverboards. We were doing a hoverboard sequence on wires, and long story short, the effects guy released me at the wrong time off the cable, and I fell 20 feet to the concrete, broke my face. I had a lot of reconstructive surgeries to my face, one to my arm. Yeah, I was pretty messed up for a long time.
How long did it take you to recover?
A couple of years. I mean, I was back to work doing easy jobs in a year, but I still had subsequent surgeries, so it was a mess.
Did you have fears of going back and doing more?
You know, my first real job back, I was hanging 200 feet off of a cable on General Hospital, off of a hotel building, and so it was kind of like, get back on the horse, get back on the cable, and I got through it, and I've never stopped since.
Is it ever a little bit frustrating to be so behind the scenes that you are in the middle of this? You are risking your life every day to do this, but somebody else, some movie star, gets all the credit for it.
You know what? If you want to be a star, be an actress, really and truly, I love the behind the scenes. I love taking care of my actresses. That's part of the job. And I also love, you know, just the adrenaline rush from actually doing athletic stunts.
And we're looking at stunts right now of just flying through.
Point of no return. That was doubling Bridget Fonda, and what an amazing, gracious actress she was. She loved having me do all the stunts, and but yeah, it's a lot of fun. And usually when you're working closely with an actress, you get to know them and you take care of them, and it's just a real teamwork process.
And in a situation like that, I guess they're making you do everything they can to make you look like that person. So we're talking hair colors, haircuts, I'm sure. Do you have to ever gain weight or lose weight because of it?
You know, you go to Fredericks of Hollywood and you buy the pads that give you the bigger boobs and the bigger hips, and it just depends on who you're doubling. I doubled Shirley MacLaine a couple of months ago, you know, and she's, you know, bigger boned than me, and we just patted me up, and you know, you just do what you need to do to look the most that you can.
Who are some of the bigger names that you've talked about or that you've worked with? We've mentioned a few of them, but who else?
You know, I have doubled Renee Russo since 1993. Really? We started together doing Lethal Weapon, Lethal Weapon 3. And that's really dating us, but you know what? Such a gracious woman. She requests me every movie she does. I just finished doing Thor with her. She got knocked around a little bit and did some sword work with some of the bad guys in Thor. And
so you did all of that work for her?
I did a couple of, it was a couple of weeks worth of work on Thor, and that's out in the theaters now. Last year I did Night and Day. I doubled Cameron Diaz doing a lot of her car work. I love doing driving stunts. And, you know, you just, whoever calls, you show up. You
and
know.
Jessica Alba, I understand that you've worked with her, too.
Yeah, Robert Rodriguez shoots all his movies in Austin, and I live in Austin now. And so I came in and did all of her driving in a brand new Mercedes. That's part of the fun of the job. You get to drive all these cool cars. I just did a pilot in Dallas where I got to drive a Bentley coupe, and the stunt coordinator was like, okay, Cheryl, this is a $300,000 car. You cannot even scratch the hubcaps, you know. You cannot.
No pressure.
No pressure, but they want you to slide the car around corners, and the actress is in the passenger seat with me screaming her head off, you know. It was part of the scene. And so it's a lot of fun.
What kind of training do you have to do? I know you just talked about kickboxing, but what do you have to do to learn how to drive a car like that? I would flip it.
You know what? There's stunt driving schools. There's people go to. In particular, I attended Bob Bondurant race driving. You learn how to drive. You learn. You rent a car. There's an admission that I shouldn't say, but we used to rent cars and put cones out and practice our slides.
I mean, we look at you at this picture right here, and that that is extreme. Look at that.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, that was for a Black Belt magazine shoot long time ago in Colorado. But, yeah, you know, you have to stay in shape. You know, that's part of the job. The actresses want you to be lean and slim and make them look good. So in front and behind. And so you do what you need to do to stay in shape. And
so
make
what do
them
you
look good.
do to keep your competitive edge when sometimes these actresses can be 20 years old and you're 50?
Yeah, gosh, Jessica Alba was really young. Now, I was driving for her, so it's a little bit easier in a car. But you know what? I'm big into exercise. I do a lot of cardio. I do a lot of stretching because I think that makes a difference when you're looking at a young person versus an old.
Right.
You can look at somebody from behind, watch the way they walk, and you go, wow, that's an older person. But if you do yoga, if you do stretching, if you take care of yourself and kind of keep yourself supple,